You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast hosted by Matt Franks and Zach Bechtold. We hope you enjoy this week's show, and you can find out more about us by going online at beardedtheologians.com, where you can pick up a few t-shirts, listen to a few old episodes, and find ways that you can connect with us. Thank you for listening. You're listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast hosted by Matt Franks
and Zach Bechtold.
So this week on the podcast, we are entering into Easter. This is Holy Week. We've had Monday, Thursday, and Good Friday. And now, Zach, as you think about Easter, what do you hope for?
I hope that the 8 inches of snow we got overnight will go away and we'll have a nice, lovely Easter sunrise service. That's what I hope for. No, I this year's Easter service, our theme for Lent has been everything in between, and really kind of navigating those, just the reality of life and where our life and faith intersect and where God meets us in the middle of it. But this year's Easter is finding the in-between of grief and hope and really leaning into the story, journeying with the women to the tomb and feeling, letting go of what we know about the rest of the story, right? Continuing to try to put ourselves in the shoes of the folks we find in the story, not knowing who, what, when, and where, why. Going with the anticipation and the intention to continue to prepare for death and finding something different. I think sometimes I find myself every year telling that part of the story, but also telling it pretty quickly because I know what's next. I know there's hope on the back end of that, and I'm ready to get to that. But leaning into really the beauty that grief and hope go together. Without one, you can't have the other, or the other's just not as right. Without grief, hope is, what is it? Right? It doesn't have as much of a ring, and with hope, we can navigate our grief more because we know that's not the end of the story. And so finding how those are in relationship with one another through the resurrection of Christ and that story and the hope that we just generally find on Easter because it's Easter, and we celebrate that deeply in our faith. And but yeah, I'm leaning more into let's sit in the discomfort of what this story is, because that's important, and I think makes the empty tomb in the coming days that much more hopeful and joyful and impactful in our faith. What about you, Matthew, as you lean into the Easter season?
We are kind of in this in between of the unlikeliness of the story and who showed up that we weren't expecting and how they impact our lives, and bringing that into a fullness of this experience of Easter. And what does that mean? Not only just in that moment, but like, how does that build off of what we see in the book of Acts as we transition from this unlikeliness to the Easter experience to life after Easter? We will find ourselves in this space of experiences that sometimes we kind of gloss over or we weren't expecting. And that even though as the women show up at the tomb, there is some, I'd almost just say, like, I really feel like they didn't know what to think. And so then they go to the disciples and like, hey, here's, like, he wasn't here, he's risen. And, you know, that we know that we kind of know the rest of the story. There is, I don't want to say a sense of confusion of really what happened, even though they were told. And, like, you know, depending on which story you read, depends on how they were told and all that stuff. Like, I think there's a sense of confusion in the midst of that. But then I love the response to the after the fact. They go tell the story of like, hey, there was this guy and like he did all these things and he died, and on the third day he rose again. And like, and obviously we're a part of that. We've inherited this story that has just been told from time and time again, and yet there's some unlikely things that happen that we weren't expecting in the fact that there's an empty tomb. No one expected that. Like, that wasn't to be anticipated to happen, and yet it shows up. And so I think, as we like, the thing I hope for with every Easter is that people just recognize the power of this, and that it's our turn. Like, I always think that that's like the handing of the baton. Like, Jesus is
Mhm.
like, all right, so I showed you how to do this. Now it's your turn to go and do it.
Mhm.
And I hope, like, my hope was every Easter is that somewhere somebody, or maybe a whole group of people, decide that, like, they're gonna center their lives and be more like Jesus because of this event.
Mhm. Well, and that's what all of the gospels do, right? And we give the disciples and the folks that follow Jesus a hard time sometimes because we get the fullness of the story in history, and yet they're living it in real life and asking the questions and doing the exact same things we would do. Matthew, if
Yeah.
you woke up and you went to a tomb expecting someone to be there and to finish preparing their body and they weren't there, you would be confused too, right? Like,
I would be running and getting my baseball bat ready for zombie apocalypse.
correct, right? Like, we give the women a heart. Oh, they didn't believe. How could they not believe? Jesus told them. Yeah, we wouldn't believe either.
Yeah.
We would ask questions too. And Peter the same way. He runs back to the tomb. It looks in and goes, well, well, now what? Right? Like, it takes them a minute, and it actually takes them quite a bit of time because they all go back to the upper room and hide for a little bit. Thomas asks questions. Thomas is like, I want to see, right? And because of it, we call him Doubting Thomas pretty unfairly.
Yeah.
It's the same things you and I would do, you and I would say, you and I would wonder. And I think that's the beauty that I find hope in the Easter story, if not all of the gospel, is we get to sit in that holy mystery anytime we encounter it, but we also get to sit in the humanness and the realness of, oh yeah, I would do that too, right? It's relatable for a reason, right? It stood the test of time for a reason because we even this so telling the story every year, right? And the various ways that we tell it, Easter doesn't change. It's the same story, and yet th if we can come to it with the same curiosity, even the same confusion a little bit, because that's what leads us into questions, into searching for more, rather than just reading the story once again, rather than just hearing it once again. When we approach it with uh, that same attitude of I'm going to approach it and being human this year and feel and be present in that, it opens the story up to more, to something, maybe not something new, but maybe something different, hearing it a different way, hearing something we haven't heard before, preaching something we haven't preached before, right? It's the beauty of a story that we tell every year and yet find something new in.
So one of the things I know you're definitely not the lectionary guy like I am.
Hmm.
But one of the things I love in the lectionary during Easter is for the visual readings, not the visual readings, it's the other reading, the resurrection reading. The Old Testament reading is from the book of Acts, and it's
Hmm.
Peter giving this speech of really, he's really telling him what really happened, and just kind
Right.
of um you know, there's a sense of belief and all those things. I don't want to give all away my whole sermon, but I always find that, like, when I discovered that, I was like, wow, like, there's something important here for us to hear, and that sometimes, I think sometimes we also forget that there's more to the story than just what happened at the tomb. I
Right.
mean, you talk about the Emmaus experience. Like, I love the Emmaus experience because it's like, just what I'm saying, it's like you're eating and all of a sudden you like realize, like, oh, like, he was here and now he's gone. Like,
Hmm.
there's that. There's just there's a lot of one of the things I love about Easter is there's a lot of different directions you can go.
Hmm.
And I look forward to, like, crafting something every year with it to be different, but also to be grounded in the fact that we know that the women show up to the tomb. The women are the first proclaimers that he has risen,
Hmm.
and that, like, the power of that alone is so amazing that now we get the story, and now it's up to us to decide how we want to live that out. Like, it's just, there's a lot to that that's just fun.
It is fun. And that's I'm sure you get asked a lot throughout Holy Week and Lent of how you hanging in there. It's a busy week. It is. But we get to do really fun things. We get to do really hard services. But it's a time of the year and a story that's so much fun to tell, so much fun to lean into, and often why many of us, clergy, lay people, everybody in between, right? It's a significant piece of our faith, and to be able to share that uh, in ways that are exciting, ways that are just different each and every year, even if it's not different each and every year. Who cares? It's fun. It's a great story to tell. And it really kind of speaks for itself. It's one of those Sundays that, you know, honestly, let the scripture speak. Like, let it breathe, and it's there for a reason. We don't have to zhuzh it up too much. It's not, you know, uh, I don't know. It's not a Lamentations where we're having to dig to try to find something to talk about, right? It's Easter. It's fun.
All right. So we know the real reason we hope for. We hope, we look for, we long there. The Easter Sunday nap is the best nap
I did tell it. Yes,
in the
100%.
history of man. Like, I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
And I remember, like, when we were close enough to my in-laws and we would go to their house, there are pictures of me just passed out at their
Yeah.
house still, because it's just, you pour so much energy into the tridenium that,
Hmm.
like, when you do that last service, you do the final benediction on Easter Sunday, and then you're just like, I got nothing.
I got
Don't
nothing.
talk to me.
I'm telling you, Sunday nights are great anyways, but it's early in the baseball season. There's going to be day baseball games. There's going to be a great nap. It's a good day. It's a
Isn't
good
it?
day.
Aren't the Masters? Isn't the Masters this weekend too?
I don't know. It's baseball season. Nothing
I
else
know.
exists.
I know, but all right. Well, so Zach, since last week, where have you seen God at work in your life?
Um, since last week, 6 weeks ago, it's what it
Yeah.
feels like.
I hear you and I feel you.
Truly, truly feels like 6 weeks ago. Um, I geez, in a lot of places as always. It's been really fun to watch my staff this year. Is this our fourth Easter together? And from our first Easter to this, or from our first Holy Week to this Holy Week, um, we've had some, yeah, we've had some in and outs, and we've had some different people sit around the table today than we had a few years ago. And watching my staff come together and feel the rhythms of Holy Week, feel the rhythms of how I design Holy Week, feel the rhythms of how they can lean into the season and um, bring hope and peace and all of the things through what they do, whether it's programmatic staff or my administrative staff. We have hit a really good stride. And this has probably been the quietest, least stress and anxiety filled Holy Week I've had in a long, long time, where everybody's just clicking and doing their thing and showing up in significant ways for the people of this church and this community. Um, and that's fun. That's what makes these seasons that are super busy fun. Because people are showing up both in the church and on staff and feeling that presence of the Spirit, rather than it's a busy week, we got to get all these things done and we don't know what we're doing. Um, yeah, I've seen that a lot here this Lenten season, really in the last few months, but it's been fun to see it kind of tested through this Holy Week of, yeah, there's a lot, and I think we're doing good and being affirmed in, oh yeah, good things are happening, the right people are at the table, and it's pretty cool to see that at work. And that's all Holy Spirit, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't have anything to do with that.
Yeah. No, that's
Uh,
definitely.
Yeah, because I get to lean right into the middle of the stress and anxiety of that too, and it's good to feel, like I said, feel the Holy Spirit at peace in movement, and that of knowing it's gonna be okay. Uh, it's good. So yeah. What about you?
Um, I've had a whirlwind of a week uh, of an impromptu trip to Ohio for a couple days to check out a college with my oldest. Um, and then starting off with Monday, Thursday with the in the Tridenium. I just um, I have found myself trying to be in the moment more. And last night at our holy potluck Monday, Thursday service, even though we ran out of brisket, um, it was so much fun. And we left in celebration of just a sacred time together in a meal around the table, reminding ourselves that this was a night of love. It was just so good. I just had so much fun last night. It was such a spiritual moment of just wow, like to be in the moment of the hand washing and the holy communion and like just the time together. And I was right. We actually almost had more desserts than we did sides, and it was a lot of fun. I know a lot of people were happy. And so I don't know, there's just a sweet, sweet spirit of the place. And it was just so much fun. So yeah, definitely being in that moment of this and then looking forward to tonight as I'm getting things set up for the service tonight and then looking forward to Easter. What does that mean? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
Listeners, we're grateful for you. And so we want to encourage you to keep liking us, keep sharing us. Don't be afraid to ask us questions if you've got any. We definitely would love to hear from you. And you can find more of our stuff at beardedtheologians.com. And so for the Bearded Theologians, I'm Matt Franks.
I'm Zach Bechtold. Thanks for checking us out.
And like this video. And push that thumbs up.
Thank you for listening to the Bearded Theologians podcast. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share on all social media outlets. You can check out old episodes and more information at beardedtheologians.com. Thanks for checking us out.